Call the order of the North Highlands Recreation and Park District of February 13th, 2020. Call for the approval of the minutes of January 9th, 2020.
So moved. Second that.
Moved. Seconded. Chairperson's report.
Did we vote?
Oh, yeah, that's what I said. No discussion, right? So, all in favor?
Aye.
Oh, okay. Hey, it's only my second time on the podium. Yeah.
Did he say wants a podium?
Any comments? Or no, first, the chairperson has nothing to report. Comments from any of my fellow board members?
Quiet day.
Quiet on it?
Just remember everybody to do your Form 700 if you haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
Pat did it.
I did, I even sent her a copy of it.
Well, mine's online, so,
I'll get yours.
yeah.
Nothing, all right. We don't, any reports from standing committees? We shouldn't have any at this time, except you go to the next page. Administrator's report.
All right, I'd like to talk about the Arcade Creek North Highlands Recreation and Park District annexation, or proposed annexation, I should probably title it. As I mentioned in my report, our district was approached by the general manager from Arcade Creek about two things. One, to let us know that his district and a neighboring district, Fulton El Camino, the boards have created, both of their boards have created a committee to work towards developing a annexation between the two districts. My understanding is this happened once before and didn't go through, but they think it might this time. As part of that, Arcade Creek made a proposal to our district to annex a portion of their district, which they described as having a North Highlands mailing address, and you probably saw from the attached maps, is adjacent to our district. And several things, they provided some financial information. That particular area generates just slightly more than $100,000 in property tax revenue, and ongoing expenses for maintenance is about $75,000. I don't know what entails the maintenance costs, so I don't know if that's a minimum amount of maintenance, or are they quite a bit. Having driven over there and looked at the area, I'm thinking it's probably not a substantial amount of maintenance that's taking place at that facility. But anyway, I explained to them that we would bring this to our board for a discussion. No one is asking us to make a decision. I'm not asking the board to make a decision, other than just to get a nod of heads or comments from the board, as if you would like for staff to continue to do some additional investigation, confirm the property tax information, get a little bit more information about maintenance, the level of maintenance, the type of maintenance that the Arcade Creek performs in this area, which is about a 10-acre park that's adjacent to a school of the same name, and that's probably about all I know at this point. But if the board would like for staff to continue investigating this, we certainly will.
If I'm reading this right, this is right by Watt and Roseville Road?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to, do you know if the boundaries include the industrial area of 95660 on the west side of Watt?
Not the information that they initially gave me.
Okay.
Yeah. The information they gave me that I've included in the report was those boundaries of the different roads and streets, that sort of thing. So if it's more than that, I'm not aware, but I can certainly find out.
Okay, thank you.
So that's kind of my question too, because on this paper that is highlighted in yellow and then circled, that looks like the commercial area, not where the Oakdale Park is. So that's what I just wanted to confirm what area we're actually talking about.
I will take responsibility for that. I actually circled that, and I meant to bring it up to you tonight, that actually does not represent the area. That was my error.
Okay.
If you see the map behind it, that is a much better description of the area question.
Okay, so is it the industrial area too? Because again, according to this, it looked like, you know, it would probably include that. Because I don't think they'd want to just take that little chunk. I mean, I don't know. Because I'm assuming the boundary's going to be I-80, and we already have to the railroad tracks, if I remember correctly. Isn't that what ours
Yeah,
goes
to the
to?
railroad.
Yeah, we have all of the McClellan Parks, my
Right.
understanding.
Okay.
I will find that out for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of my questions is what is the actual area we're talking about? And the second thing is, you kind of already alluded to it, is, you know, I don't know if Scott has had a chance to go over too and, you know, see what we think maintenance is gonna be for this park. And, you know, depending on what, you know, let's say we need one more maintenance person. Well, is the additional tax revenue gonna cover that?
I think there's a couple of things when it comes to maintenance we want to look at. One, we need to do a little more of a detailed investigation of the restroom facility.
Right.
I'd like to learn a little bit more about the underground irrigation system. How old is it? I'm going to take a guess, it's probably pretty old. I'd like to find out what kind of problems, maintenance problems that they've encountered over the years, anything serious, anything of any significance. What kind of condition the playground equipment is. Because when you think about it, let's say that the financial numbers are accurate. If you have a playground there that has to be replaced, and that's gonna cost you $150,000 to $200,000, you're in the hole already. That means you're not, if you had no other expenses in the next 6-7 years, you need all that money just to pay for that playground. So and all these things I think are negotiable, but keep in mind, Arcade Creek is very, very small. Three full-time employees. I don't think they have those type of funds.
No.
And it could be one of the reasons why it's being offered to us,
Correct.
is that they don't have the means to deal with the current or future problems. So I think that's certainly something we want to look at. Again, I think we verify the numbers. I'd like to know what constitutes $75,000 in maintenance.
Right.
You know,
I
it's just so many things that go into it. It's a fairly large site. You know, it's 10 acres.
What, the other thing is, as we move forward, and again, at this point, I don't have a problem with staff moving forward, but I would maybe like to see set up like a special meeting before a regular board meeting for the board to just drive there, and we can all kind of get an idea, and hopefully by that point, you're gonna know maintenance issues of the playground and all that kind of stuff, just so we get more of a idea visually of what's going on.
I think that's a good idea, and I think if the board had a stronger interest, expressed a stronger interest after that, would be to invite the general manager and maybe even the board president to come to our board meeting.
Sure.
And answer questions, because things may come up that we may not find out until we.
I agree with Alan on that, because I mean, that's one of the things I had highlighted is to have him, because you offered to bring him here. But if we go look at it first together
Right.
and get some ideas, take some notes, that when he comes in, we can, hey, what about this?
Well, I'm saying staff should obviously do
Right.
that before us, and then if everyone thinks that, yeah, this looks like a good move for us, at that point is when I'd like to probably go see it.
I would say that before we scheduled a meeting to go there and view it, I think we need to get some of these questions answered.
Oh, no,
I
absolutely.
certainly don't want to waste your time.
Yeah.
If we find out that this is a lemon and not something that we should invest much time and energy in. But at the same time, as you probably know, our district is extremely short of parkland. You know, the average in California, what they strive for is 5 acres, per 1,000. And right now we're at 1.8 or 1.9. So we're 2.5 times, 1.5 times, less than what we should have. Now, keep in mind, every park and recreation district or agency in the state of California probably is deficit. But, you know, that is one neat way of certainly adding to our parkland. But we have to look at the financial side. If it costs more, again, 10 acres, 85,000. I try to compare it to, you know, try to look at just some maintenance costs of looking at ours per acre cost. It's really hard to do that until you really know what you're dealing with out there. But like I said, if the playground and the restroom has to be replaced or significant funds have to be invested, then it doesn't look so, you know, like such a great deal.
Isn't there also a building on that property, if it's the park I'm thinking of?
It could be the restroom you're
It
thinking
could
about.
be the rest.
Now, there's actual buildings, but I was thinking of the same park, because there was like a crab feed thing over there, there was that building.
Not that I'm aware
It
of.
was a huge park.
That could be, is that part of the school? Could that be building be part of
This
the
was a
school?
while ago.
Yeah,
I thought there was a building.
Now, he told me
It just
there were
sat way at the set.
two soccer fields, a children's play area, and a restroom, and when I drove by, I could,
Yeah, it could be.
couldn't see the soccer field, but I knew they were playing
Maybe that
soccer.
building didn't belong to that park thing, it was like right there in the back area.
Okay, well, you know, what I'll likely do is arrange for a site meeting with myself and the general manager from Arcade Creek and meet him on the site, so, you know, as you're walking, you can ask a lot more questions when you start to see things, rather than go look at it, then go back and call them on the phone. I'd rather have them there.
Right, and I want to know, my husband and I drove by there late Sunday morning, and it appeared to have, like an adult soccer type game going on there. So I'd be interested how many groups are out there using it for possible league activity, if they're charging them for the fields or not, and what other
Right.
groups are out there using that park. So I did notice on the end of the side with the playground equipment, there was a barbecue out there, so I don't know.
They did say there's a picnic rental now. If picnic rental is simply a small barbecue with a picnic table, that might be different what we have, say, at Freedom Park. We'd have to confirm. Also, too, there is a parking lot out there as well. We'd have to take a look at it and, you know, take a look and see if we have to invest anything in the parking lot. I would just say this, and I try not to be negative, but if somebody offers you something, you know, and it initially sounds too good to be true, there might be reasons why it sounds too good to be true. I don't want to be, I hope I'm wrong, but, you know, why, you know, for a small, I think my understanding is, what my initial understanding was, is that I thought that maybe if they did merge, then at Fulton El Camino, didn't want to have that piece, that Oakdale Park area. But when the general manager told me that his board wanted to let me know that even if the merger failed, they still would like to annex it into our district. That's when the red flag kind of goes up as to why would you want to get rid of, especially a much smaller district than us, and they have a less parkland, why would you want to, you're going to actually go more in the hole for your park acreage. So, and again, there is one other piece to this. The Arcade Creek, similar to our district, has a similar situation with their school site, where they made a contribution to their school when that school was built, so that they had use of that gymnasium after the school use, very similar to our situation at Ridgepoint. And I want to get a hold of that agreement, make sure and check it. I think it sounded like it's very similar to what we have. They have an ACES program, an after-school recreation program, as we do. Theirs is almost twice as large as ours, and I probably can hear Rachel groaning over here. One of the biggest problems that we have is hiring quality staff and retaining quality staff. And if we're having a hard time getting, you know, just for our site, then looking, now this site is, just so you know, this is not part of the agreement. That's simply well, if I remember correctly, the ACES program, every 2 to 3 years, we have to reapply for the site. But apparently we've been doing a good enough job that the Twin Rivers Unified School District has asked us to take on more sites, which I'm not necessarily interested in doing, because this is a break-even program. This is not, was never designed for as a profit-making element.
My last thing is, if this goes through, are they gonna notify all those constituents there? Or is it just, hey, guess what, you're not in, Arcade Creek anymore?
No, they have to, because to go through the LAFCO annexation process,
Okay,
it's a requirement that, because they
I
have to
thought
have
it
public,
was.
they have to have public hearings, so the
Right,
public can
okay.
say, hey, we like this or we don't like this. And I'm sure that, they would want to know, what are we gonna do to the park that maybe
Right.
their previous district did not do. And so there's a lot, if this was a marathon, I think we're about 10 feet past the starting line.
Yeah, no, I
And we got miles and miles to go. But at this point, I informed Arcade Creek that I would bring it to our board, have initial discussion with you, likely to be followed by many, many questions. And at that point, we will advise them where we're gonna go from there. So anyway, the idea was just to bring it to you.
No, that's
introduce it
fine.
to you.
Like I said, I'm good with staff moving forward, so.
Okay.
Looking at the pictures, it looks like a good piece of
Yeah.
land. And then there's,
They said 10 acres.
yeah, it's pretty big. The playground structure that's there is pretty minimal.
Looks pretty old too.
Yeah, so, it doesn't look like it needs to be replaced, but it seems like something we would want to replace if we were gonna, at some point. And
Well,
so, you know,
yes and no.
yeah.
And Scott can speak to this probably better than I can. There is a playground site at Ridge Point as well, correct? And it's fairly tiny. It's very small.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that in its current format probably doesn't offer a lot.
Yeah, that's the one I take my.
And so if you wanted to take out a playground, you're gonna wanna probably put in something much larger and again, we're getting that $200,000 mark.
Yeah.
All of a sudden it gets very expensive. If we were getting $200,000 of property tax and maintenance was at that number, then it becomes more intriguing. So I think those are things that we have to look at. At the end of the day, I hate to say it, really probably does come down to dollars and cents. Because why would we want to take it? Keep in mind, we have 60-something acres of parkland, 13, 14 parks, and we probably in the last 5 or 6 years have replaced playgrounds at 3, 4. We still have a long ways to go. We have to invest on our own park. And the other thing too is we want to look at that park and just see what kind of ADA issues that might be facing, because that can get really expensive fast. If I'm lacking enthusiasm, it's just, there's not a lot of money on the table to do things if they have to be done, and my guess is they have to be done.
So yeah, it's curious as to why they would not keep it.
Knowing the general manager, he'll be honest with me and tell me, but he'll also want to probably make sure I don't repeat it back to you. He doesn't probably want to get himself in trouble by saying the wrong thing. But my guess is this: you wouldn't want to give something to somebody that had value to it, would you?
Yeah.
That's my thought. But anyway, we will do some initial investigation and prepare a report for you for the next March meeting. And based on that report, we'll either be recommending to you to schedule a meeting, probably the April meeting, or a special meeting to go visit the site. And then we'll see where we go from there.
Any other questions? No, we're good?
I'm sorry, one last thing I just wanted to add too is that in your in the administrative report, and I think I've given this to you the last 2 or 3 years, it's just an outline for the general fund, Cherry Blossom Park FD budget for the next budget cycle, just to give you an idea of what is what the schedule is. And if you please note the third from the bottom is May. It says May 5th or 6th. I need to, for the Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee, if you could look at those dates and tell me which one of those dates work best for you.
If you couldn't mind sending an email.
I will send you an email and remind you, just so that we can, get that tied down. And that's all I have to report.
Alright, so that's that, then we go to Scott.
Nothing to add to my written report unless there
big a leak was that? Was it a big leak? The gas leak, the natural gas?
No, it was a small area, but staff wisely did the right thing and just tried to do something, to isolate it, and then PG came out and took care of it, right?
We got lucky.
Yes,
We got lucky.
and really, it was, it's not a building that's used an awful lot, it's kind of an auxiliary storage space.
Oh, okay.
So that's what was the scary part.
So Scott, did you get to help with the pressure washing?
No, they don't let me play with those toys. But they did a great job. They really stripped just years of old cane, tape.
Yeah. So Rachel, you're up.
Yes, I apologize because I have 3 pages, but I'm gonna keep it short and sweet. Raccoon Club, some updates on that. We talked about quality staff. One thing I'm working on is better training them so that they're comfortable at site and they know what they're doing. And if you know what you're doing, you wanna work there because you feel confident in your job role. So one thing we're doing is we have a chore chart that basically changes every day. So everyone has an assigned chore that they do for the day to make sure that we're keeping the facility clean and organized, and everyone has a job role. The other thing that we're doing is we're doing rec leaders 1 and 2. So some days, certain rec leaders will lead the activity and they're assisted by someone, and then that will rotate so that every staff member feels confident in, leading enrichments and activities. The other thing is that Liz, our site supervisor, and I are working on bringing guest speakers out to Raccoon Club. So we want to bring out the mobile zoo, the Sacramento Zoo, so that way, they have an animal week. Another one we want to do is bring out Mad Science to Sacramento Valley and do science experiments because science is huge at Raccoon Club, but obviously our staff are not scientists, so it only goes to not too far in the skill. Moving on to seniors and kind of touching base on Mad Science. This is a contract group that I had a relationship at my previous job, so I'm just finding ways that we can incorporate them, and they're going to do a free show for the seniors at harvest time. So a free science show. Lila's really excited about it. It's just something different for them to do and experience. So that's that. And then for contract classes, a new thing that we just got it approved with is the Sacramento Sheriff's Department reached out to us, and they want to start a program called Friday Night Hoops. Essentially what happens is all we do is provide a building for them to be in, and ages 10 to 14 youth will come out and play basketball with the Sheriff's Department. They're not in uniform. It's just a way for the sheriffs to get kids off of the street and do something social and productive in a safe environment. So they'll play basketball, teach them skills, scrimmage, and things like that, and then they'll do some type of special conversation, and then they feed the kids. So it's a win-win. Kids get to go somewhere where they're safe, play basketball, they're building relationships with the sheriffs, and then they get to be fed after. So that is going to be starting on March 20th, and it's going to be the first and the third Friday of every month, except for obviously March 20th is the 3rd. So it starts on the 3rd, but from then on it'll go on. And then they're also going to come out to our movie in the park. This is just, I'm getting ahead, but it's just really cool. They're going to bring out their Humvees. And we're playing Space Jam, so it kind of already ties in. They're going to do the basketball at Freedom Park, and then have a booth set up there, and then ties into the basketball theme. So that is that. Aquatics. So the crab feed is coming up next Saturday. Last week I attended the board meeting, and they had 22 participants, and I checked today, and they went up to 60. So I think the marketing and just getting the word out has helped a lot, but we're hoping to get about 115. And they're confident in that, so I hope they're right. And then TRUSD Sports. So I talked about last month the change in our system where the participants sign up on ActiveNet, the parents will sign off on their waiver, and that way we no longer carry the waiver forms. So we're going to be doing that again for our youth basketball. So that we talked to the coaches last week. We got pretty good reviews about it, and so that's going to be going forward. And then that's it for sports. And then NHRPD Youth Basketball and Pee Wee program, that's going on right now. It's been going really, really well. We have a site supervisor who's out there every week, so The program has been running very well, and we haven't been getting really any complaints. And the new thing that we did this year, or what Sarah did, is she brought a photographer to come out. So they did pictures last week, so they got actual professional photos instead of the ones we took on our phones. And then another thing they did to save money, instead of doing basketball jerseys, they're really expensive, they switched to bright colorful t-shirts. The idea was that the kids will wear their t-shirts after the basketball season's over, but they might not wear the jersey. So it's marketing the program, and it's fun for the kids to have. Last thing is our spring guide should be out in March.
One thing I'd just like to comment that Rachel touched on was the switch from basketball jerseys to the t-shirts. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the t-shirts are substantially less costly. And, you know, I've worked in programs where we did the same thing, switch from the jerseys to the t-shirts. The kids don't generally wear tank tops when it's 100 degrees outside because they'll get burnt, but they'll wear the t-shirt. And again, you know, if it's a nice looking t-shirt, which they are, then they're going to wear them. And again, it just helps bring more advertisement to our program. But I think it was a very good move on Recreation's part, because do you know what the difference was in the savings of the jerseys? I want to say the jerseys were $15, $16 and the shirts $4 or $5, something like that.
Sounds about it.
Yeah, so it's quite a bit of savings. That keeps us from having to raise the rates, because we can, you know, hold back for a while as we let the cost kind of catch up a little bit. But I think all in all that everybody's going to like the idea of the shirts.
What fabric are the shirts made of?
Cotton t-shirts, I believe.
It would be cool to have like polyester in the future, just since you're gonna be sweating, but I mean.
Let them sweat, Zach. Let 'em
Yeah.
So I have one question that I've brought up a number of times in the past. So when we show these movies publicly, are we paying license fees for them?
Yeah, I already purchased it.
Okay.
It
How
was-
much do we pay?
It's $435, and then to ship it out, it was like $30, so
Okay.
it's a good.
Because I don't know, we heard about the fiasco at the school in the Bay Area.
Oh, what?
They showed a Disney movie and they got a bill.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, we pay a good little fee
It
for
was
that.
$250. They took in
$400
$800,
just to
so
watch a
they
movie.
lost about a third.
$400 for it to
The
have.
CEO found out.
Yeah, and you only get it for like 2 days, and you have to play it on that certain day. Not that, I don't know how
For
they would
kids,
find
it's
out.
not like it's a profit-making thing.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
Yeah, and I thought it would have been cheaper because it's an older movie, but no,
Somebody's got to make the money.
yeah.
All right,
That's on my TV.
Terry, you good? You're good? All right. 7A, correspondence, the CSDA Election and Bylaws Committee looking for a director, call for a nomination for a seat. Any retired people?
That's on the agenda.
Well, see,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so,
I think they're both on the agenda.
LAFCO and CSDA.
yeah, okay.
I don't want to get the chair in trouble going out of order, so.
B and C. All right, now, Ray, any comments or reports from citizens or organizations? I guess not. On the unfinished business, we don't have anything. So go number 10, under new business, A, calendar year investment pool.
That's just for your information.
Make a motion to receive and file.
I'll second it.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. B is the CSDA Election and Bylaws Committee. CSDA Board of Directors call for nominations for seat C.
Yeah, you know, I was reading this, but one of the things that you're required to do is to get that one certification, and it's like, I'm not taking all those classes, I'm retired for God's sake.
Real busy now,
So,
So we don't.
I'm sure Diane's too busy.
no, we just know what's interested, we just,
see my front yard.
Is it looking good?
Oh, heck yeah, I look like a hippie now.
All right, C is nomination for members on the Special District Advisory Committee, SDAC, the Sacramento Local Agency Formations Committee, LAFCO. Anyone?
Nope.
No,
No?
no, thank you.
All right, Resolution D, Resolution 585, the 2019-2020 budget transfer request contingency for fund. So,
As I remember, I mentioned to the board last month that I would be coming back to add additional requests from the contingency fund. And the items we put in there were several that you probably were aware of, and then we added a couple more. First was $35,000 to replace 2 of the existing HVAC units in the community center and district office. The one in the district office would, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, is the hallway kind of in this area. Believe it or not, how many do we have above this building?
We have 3.
3 above this building?
3, the one was replaced over this
Right.
hallway and then main office.
Okay. And the other one would be the community center, and that's a rather large one. The other item was carpet. It's just something that, and I think the staff is getting tired of me mumbling about it, but the carpet is pretty, I don't know how old that carpet is in the office area. It must be pretty old, but we're getting separation gaps in the doorways of the offices, and it's really become a trip hazard. And I'm concerned about people coming in and stumbling over that. And the scene, it's just been getting worse and worse. And since we have the money in the contingency fund, I would rather do this now than wait till next fiscal year to budget that. So that's $10,000 for that. And are all of you familiar with AED, automatic internal defibrillators?
I just taught that class
Very
today.
good, okay. So we should have these in our buildings, and we really do. And the ones that I'm interested in purchasing are the ones that a 5-year-old could do. They actually talk you, it talks you through the process. It tells you exactly what to do. Anybody can do it. So we were looking at initially 3 for wall units, and then 1 as a portable unit for swim teams, swim lessons, to have that with them. There still is with the training available to go through this, I would want our staff to still do that, everybody, including myself. We had I don't want to get into too much detail because it's still kind of ongoing, but we had an incident in the last week. Yeah, with a lady that it sure would have been a good idea to have that. And for all the things that we buy, we have to start thinking things like this that are really do, because you hope you never need them.
Right.
But when you need them, you hope you're glad you have them, because you don't want somebody to come back and say, if you guys had had that on the wall, then somebody might have survived. So I think it's a small cost, and again, we would be probably putting 2 or 3 others in the following year's budget, so that each one of our buildings, the courtyard, this building, the community center, K Park, probably 2 in K Park, probably 1 on the child care side as well. So that's about $7,000. And the other one I talked to Rachel and Sarah about, and that we have a senior food program. When I say food program, over a course of a number of years, we were doing things for the seniors. Where at the holidays we were buying things for, and they kind of stopped. And I wish I could tell you, I could remember why, but there seems to be more of an interest in that. And we do so few things for seniors. I think that would probably be a real positive. And the other one is the transportation program. Basically, we had money in one account for transportation. That covered recreation programs, the summer trips, and then we were doing some senior trips as well. We've gone through all the money. It was a very small budget to begin with. I think maybe less than a couple $1,000s. And to hire a bus and do it right, you can't get too many trips out of that. So I talked to Sarah and Rachel, and they thought that between the food program and the senior transportation program, $3,000 would be sufficient. And then in next year's budget, we'll make sure that we have sufficient funds in there to get through the whole year. So that total is $55,000. Our contingency fund balance was $88,480. If you approve those purchases and those expenditures, the new balance would be $33,480 to get us through the next 4 or 5 months.
I just have a question on the AEDs. Okay, now, like I said, I just taught it to 62 cadets today, so there's 2 different pads. There's adult pads and there's a child pad. Would we have any of those come with child pads, or, I mean, I know we can use adult pads, it'd just be one on the front, one on the back, but they do make child.
I'd like to tell you I can answer that question,
Right.
but I can't, but I will find out for you.
But that's just something, you know, if we're gonna have it, and usually, hopefully, it's for the little kid, you know, I mean, but, yeah, it would be something to look at, it was, yeah, it's just funny, I just taught it all day today, and, you know.
Good, we might be available for some training.
Those things are so, all I tell my cadets when they do is, first thing you do, turn it on. And then it goes from there, it tells you
Tells you
step
exactly what to do.
by step, you know, oh, it's a beautiful thing.
Like, there's actually some videos on YouTube if you want to go watch them. And there's actually a 5-year-old who had no experience in those and did everything,
Right.
and it did it right.
Yeah, no, yeah, you can just check, you know,
Sure.
just on the child pad,
It's
you know, but like I said, you can do it front and back, but.
Yeah, I've trained with those and they are definitely easy to use, but I would still like our staff to be trained.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
So no hesitation, you know, so they're ready. And hopefully they never once get used, but just in case.
Yeah, then you gotta figure out if they're hairy or, you know, to shave them, you know. Are you certified, Rachel?
Yeah, well, I was, it's probably expired.
Good time, good time.
Yeah.
You know. Any other questions?
No, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve resolution 585, withdrawing $55,000 in total from contingency.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor? Motion passed. All right, 11, payment of the bills.
We got another,
E, there it was.
we got one more.
E, resolution 586.
This is
Keep me on my toes.
similar to the previous one, but the funds will not come out of the contingency fund. They would come out of development impact fee or park fees account. We've been talking about the CEQA study for quite a while at Cedar Creek Park, and I wish I'd like to tell you that I wish the county would work a little faster, and they don't work fast enough for me, but you know, here we are, we finally got to where we need to be. The county has came back with a proposal to do kind of a public-private partnership on this one, and what they want to do, they want to use a local firm in Sacramento, and they have a lot of information online about this firm. I think it was ACOM, is pronounced, and ACOM would do part of the study, and the county would do the other part, with the county taking the lead, and they would basically supervise the work of ACOM. As you can see, I have some attachments, A, B, and C, and you can see, I think it's under B, you can see the scope of services from ACOM, the things that they will do, and also, where is that? There was a email, as you can see, from Marianne Benier from the county, and she basically states that there are some tasks that the county can do cheaper than ACOM, so they will do those tasks. But in comparison of the total fee, which is a little bit less than $50,000, when I was kind of getting quotes from different private sector firms, I was getting quotes in the 80,000s. So this, from a financial perspective, this is a good deal for us. CEQA studies are not cheap. The good thing about this is, once we get the CEQA study completed, and they said 4 to 6 months to complete the study, then we have it. And then the next step would be, as we're waiting to find out if we get grant funds from Prop 68 or the Lakes Antelope development begins and we start to get revenue coming in from that project, is I would come back to the board and have a conversation with you about using some of our developer impact fee money to design the park. So that way we have the CEQA study and the design ready to go, and once the funding comes in, then we can move quickly, rather than wait for the funding to come in and then fund the design and that sort of thing. But anyway, I don't want to get off track. The CEQA study would be contracted through Sacramento County, and the county would then subcontract out to ACOM, and you can see how the scope of work has kind of been divided up. I spoke to Marianne Benier today, and we were working out the details of the contract, and I explained to her that they didn't know how to bill us for it. And I said, well, assign your cost to each task, and as you complete a task, then you can invoice us. That's how I would prefer to do it, as opposed to writing them a check for everything up front. I don't want to do that. That was their recommendation. But anyway, that's what we'd like to do, and this would come from the park impact fee, which we have today right around not quite $1.1 million. And so we'll still have substantial funding. And I did include the email from Blair Ross from SEI, just to remind everybody that this has been considered as a fee that, or should be a charge to the developer impact fees that meets all the criteria. So we don't have to come back and worry about did we use it properly. So any questions? Okay.
Again, motion
Make a motion to pass resolution number 586. The fiscal year 2019, 2020 development impact fee, park fees 3-4, is it a 1 or an L? Or an I? Park fees 346I.
Oh, yeah.
Transfer request for Sierra Park CEQA study.
I'll second it.
Any further discussions?
Could you add in the amount of the?
Oh,
For, I'm sorry, 49,906.
all right, any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Now payment of bills.
I have a question. Fuel loop, CUSD is at Center Unified School District.
That's where you buy our gas from.
We buy our gasoline.
Yep.
Alright, I never, where are they, from the Gulf?
No, that's maintenance yard.
Oh, really? Okay.
Near the district office.
Gotcha, yeah, I guess it's been on our main project.
It's been on there every quarter about.
Yeah, okay, it just stood
We
out.
save a little money by going through.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, you know the person that actually bills them too, so.
Oh,
We actually get the bills down in a very timely manner.
nice.
We used to be quarters behind,
Yeah.
but not anymore.
I'll make a motion to ratify payment of the bills for the district. We gotta do Cherry Blossom separate again.
Cherry Blossom together with it, or?
It's one of the two.
No,
That's it. But I'm just saying, last couple times we've done it, we've approved them separately. So I'm making a motion to approve the district.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed. Then I guess we will talk on Cherry Blossom.
I'll make a motion to approve the Cherry Blossom Park building report for February 2020.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passed for Cherry Blossom. Recess.
You usually state when the next meeting is.
No, I just like that recess in there, you know? The next regular meeting of the Board of Directors we held on March 12th, 2020 at 6:30 PM in the North Highlands Recreation Center, 6040 Watt Avenue, North Highlands.
No recess.